Hello everyone, welcome to the part 4 of The Girl with the Broken Wings, written by Heather Dyer and illustrated by Peter Bale. Let's get started with the chapter 7, The Angel Gabriel.
I don't think she's got a broken wing at all,
said James the following morning while he and Amanda were brushing their teeth.
It's just an excuse.
An excuse? For what?
For not going home,
said James.
She likes it here too much.
Don't be silly,
said Amanda.
Well, it can't be much fun singing carols with a lot of old people, can it?
Hines,
corrected Amanda.
And she isn't here because she likes it. She is here to help someone.
Help someone? What makes you think she's to help anyone?
Amanda sighed.
That's what angels do, she said. Especially guardian angels. They help people.
James just spat into the sink and said,
There's no such thing as angels.
And before Amanda could say anything else, he marched out of the bathroom. But even James had to admit that Hilary had been on her best behavior lately. While the twins were at school, she busied herself with drawing and jigsaw puzzles. She kept quiet as a mouse so that Mr. and Mrs. Mulroney wouldn't suspect that she was there. And she was always so pleased to see the twins when they got home that it was hard to remain angry with her. Also, Christmas was coming, which always put James in a good mood. At school, they were making paper snowflakes to decorate the classroom, and best of all, they had started practicing for the Christmas play.
I'll play a shepherd,
James told Hilary proudly.
The one who speaks.
He shook his script at Amanda.
Here, you be Gabriel.
Amanda took the script and found the place where the angel Gabriel comes in.
Don't be afraid, she read.
Wait a minute,
said James, who was putting his bathrobe on over his clothes.
You've got to fly in from the right and surprise us while we turned our flocks.
Amanda sighed and went to conceal herself behind the curtain.
Behold,
cried James, falling into his knees and raising his arms dramatically.
The angel Gabriel!
Amanda came running out from behind the curtain, flapping her arms.
Don't be afraid, she said. I'm here too.
Gabriel? Interrupted Hilary. There's a part in your play for the angel Gabriel? With wings?
James sighed and let down his arms. Percy's playing the angel, he said.
His mom's making them, said Amanda, out of cardboard. She's sticking feathers on and...
Cardboard, cried Hilary. Cardboard's no good. Everyone will know they're not real.
It's a play, said James wearily. It doesn't have to be real.
He'll never get off the ground.
He doesn't have to, cried James. They lure him on a wire.
A wire? Hilary shook her head. I don't think Gabriel would allow that, she said.
It's all
pretend, explained Amanda.
That's why it's called a play, see?
But Hilary was not convinced. She went on to sit on the sofa with her arms folded and, while the twins practiced James' lines, she watched them thoughtfully. By opening night, Hilary knew the script better than they did. She had been invited to accompany Mr. and Mrs. Mulroney to the school auditorium to watch the play, provided she behaved herself.
But remember to keep quiet,
James told her.
And don't clap until the end.
She's more excited than the twins,
remarked Mrs. Mulroney.
And she's not even in it.
Hilary just smiled and said nothing. The play was sold out. The gymnasium had been filled with rows of chairs. The lights dimmed and heavy red curtains drawn across the stage, while the orchestra tuned up at the front. Amanda was playing the violin, and she waved her bow at Mr. and Mrs. Mulroney. All the parents took their seats. Eventually, the chatter and the rustling of programs subsided, and with a drum roll, the curtains opened. "It's a quiet night," came a voice from the wings. "3 shepherds tend their flocks." The music teacher lifted his baton, and the orchestra started up like a rusty machine. Then onto the stage came 3 small shepherds, quite close together. All of them were wearing bathrobes and carrying walking sticks and had dish towels on their heads.
Which one's James?
Whispered Mr. Mulroney.
The one with the puppies on his dish towel, replied Mrs. Mulroney. The shepherds stopped in the middle of the stage and waited for their sheep. 7 of the younger children who came shuffling after them, only on all fours with their woolly white tails and ears jiggling. "Excuse me?"
whispered Hilary.
"Where are you going?"
hissed Mrs. Mulroney.
"It's my cue," said Hilary. "What?" "Going to the loo," said Hilary. She edged past Mr. and Mrs. Mulroney and hurried out through a side door.
Now a yellow moon was rising out on the back wall, and the lights on stage was dim. The shepherds had put down their crocks and lay on the floor, and the sheep all huddled up together. The shepherd, who was James, yawned loudly and smacked his lips, and the audience chuckled. Then all of a sudden a very bright light shone down on the stage, and the shepherds sat up, blinking and shading their eyes.
"Behold!"
cried the shepherd, who was James, raising his arms dramatically.
"The angel Gabriel!"
James waited with his arms raised. Nothing happened.
"Behold!"
cried James again. "It's
the angel Gabriel!"
Still nothing happened. Then all of a sudden, a mysterious winged figure wearing socks and sandals and a black mask launched herself onto the stage. She landed heavily and staggered a bit, but recovered and stood facing the astonished shepherds and their startled sheep.
"Do not be afraid,"
said Hilary, flinging open her arms. There was a moment's hesitation, and then as one, the sheep clambered to their feet and ran shrieking off the stage. 2 of the shepherds followed, letting their crooks clatter to the floor. "Don't be afraid," said Hilary again, but it was too late. The sheep and the shepherds had gone. Only James remained on stage. Hilary turned and beamed at him. "I am the angel Gabriel," she said. The lone shepherd glared at angel Gabriel. "I," said Hilary a little more loudly this time, "am the angel Gabriel."
"I heard you the first time,"
yelled James. The audience burst into laughter, and the shepherd, who was James, turned very red, but the angel Gabriel wasn't fazed. She waited until the laughter had died down, and then she turned to the glorying shepherd. "I'm here to tell you," she said loudly, "that a king is born tonight." The shepherd, who was James, scowled and said nothing. Follow yonder star, cried Hilary, and with one arm flung out towards the imaginary star, she sprinted across the stage, spread her wings, and leapt out over the audience. She circled the room once, twice, and then disappeared into the lofty darkness of the gymnasium. There was a moment's silence, then everyone began to talk at once.
All done with the mirrors, of course, said Mr. Mulroney.
Hilary returned to her seat after the intermission, a little flushed and out of breath.
Where have you been? Asked Mrs. Mulroney. You missed the best part.
That's okay, said Hilary, hiding a small smile. You can tell me about it later, and she settled back contentedly to watch the second half. But after the spectacular appearance of the angel Gabriel, the play fell kind of flat. The orchestra seemed distracted, and whenever the shepherds came on stage, they brandished their crooks like weapons and kept glancing up at the ceilings. The sheep refused to appear at all. Hilary enjoyed it though. Behold, the angel Gabriel! She shouted in the car on the way home. Mrs. Mulroney, she said, tell us again about the angel Gabriel. Was it the best part? Mrs. Mulroney admitted that the angel Gabriel had been very good indeed. Everyone had loved it. Everyone, that is, but James. He sat sulkily in the back, his face turned towards the passing knight. What's the matter, James? Asked his mother.
Nothing.
Tell us,
Mr. Mulroney persisted Hilary. What did it look like when the angel Gabriel came down and... Shut up! Yelled James.
James, said Mr. Mulroney, shocked. That's enough. He turned to his wife. I think, he said darkly, we might have a prima donna in the back seat.
James scowled and slumped back into his corner, and all the way home nothing more was said. No one could explain the angel. Everyone supposed that someone's relative had pulled the stunt, perhaps someone who worked in the film industry.
I just feel sorry for Percy, said Amanda. He still hasn't found his wings.
But James was furious. Hilary had ruined everything, he said, and he'd never forgive her.
There's nothing wrong with the wing, he grumbled. When is she going home? That's what I want to know.
So, thank you so much for watching. That's it for the part 4. Bye!